Okay, so we're back again. We're going to try this again. There's nobody in here, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'm back. Sorry about that. Kind of a rough start here. We're going to see if we can keep it going. My connection's a little goofy, so if I cut out again, then that's it. I'm not going to keep frustrating with it. I'm going to change my setup soon. I'm actually moving to a different room in the house that's closer to the Wi-Fi or something. So I'm going to try that because this is getting ridiculous. It used to work and it was fine, but I'm going to have to get a Wi-Fi booster or something because this isn't working. And I want to start doing more live streams, so it's pretty frustrating. Anyways, hello to everybody in the chat. Thanks for being here. Browndorf, Belinda, Dr. Bass Ackwards, Tukakaba, Neonami, Karke, The Only Whirly, EB, and John Keeley so far. Just let me know if you can't hear me, if I sound alright. I should sound okay. I don't know. That delay, it's a little weird. Yeah, I don't even know if I'm streaming anymore. It says no data. I don't even know what's going on. Can anybody hear me? Pretty goofy. I guess I'm still live? I don't know. I'm going to have to trim all this out and post. All good? Okay, yeah, no, it says excellent connection. It said no data for a second. How many people are in here right now? Is it 10 or 28? All right, well, you know what? I'm just gonna go. So, yeah, we got enough people in here. Hi, Miss Honeybee. Thanks for being here. Glad you made it. So the first map. So we're just gonna start. Yeah. So before I lose connection again. So first map here, and there might be some redundancies with some of these maps, and also some inaccuracies as far as the shape and all that kind of stuff. But the first one we have here, we see California as an island. The interesting thing about that is some people say, oh, well, that's just because they didn't go up here yet, and it's just that's as far as the cartographer got and all that kind of stuff. Which is nonsense because they went around it. That doesn't make any sense. How would they go around it? So this would have to be the San Francisco Bay? No, because the San Francisco Bay doesn't go down this far into here, which is Mexico. So that's this Baja. I guess they're trying to say this is Baja California, but they didn't go any further north. They didn't, and then it just leaves this void here. So that's silly. And like I said, there's going to be some redundancies on some of these maps, and there's going to be more interesting ones and less interesting ones, but some of them kind of do set a certain, kind of standard or a certain benchmark for the rest of them. So, and we can always go back and forth. And then I'm going to play a video at the end of the stream too. So that's going to close out the stream as I'm going to play a video. So I'll just go to the next one here. So of course we have Tartaria. And I think there's a better quality one, but we'll go over this one a little bit too. And the thing that I always thought is really interesting with the maps of Tartaria and the Empire of Tartary and all that kind of stuff is these little cities and you see buildings that look like the ones in the United States and Europe. Like this isn't the best resolution, but you kind of see what I'm saying. I think there's a better resolution one later on. And these places have names. These little towns, they have names, and there's all these little buildings. I guess maybe to possibly, kind of denote the size. And then they have the tents and everything. But these are cities. These are big cities and small cities. And they're by the water, obviously. You see a big cluster here by the water, which makes sense. And this is just a little section, obviously. And then you see some islands over here and all this kind of stuff, and sea monsters and ships and stuff. And you got to remember that this too was like the days of high adventure. This was like when the world was, more interesting, I suppose, or at least more dangerous, which could lead to a certain amount of interestingness. So, and we might go back and forth, and I'll try to keep up with the chat a little bit, and if anybody has any requests or anything like that, I can zoom in. I'm just glad to be live. For now, I haven't gone live in a while, and so hopefully it'll be a good stream. Like I said, it might be a long one, so maybe that's a good thing, I don't know. So here's another one. Now, if this one's in higher resolution or not. Yeah, this is a little bit higher resolution. So you do see how some of these buildings have kind of the Antiquitech look, like the spires or something, and then some of them don't. Some of them are a little smaller. Now people say that this is like what they're supposed to be like. They're supposed to be tents. These are all tents. I don't buy it, because if they were just tents, I don't see why they would have names. They have to be permanent. And if they're permanent, it's just nah. It doesn't jive with me. And they don't look like tents. And this isn't the best example, but no, they're not. They didn't just solely live in giant tents. So that was the same as this one. So we're not gonna go over it too much. And then we have an old map here of the same general area, but obviously of a different time and a different people. So if we zoom in, maybe we can get a better idea. Go down here. It's kind of hard to tell. I zoomed in a little bit too much. Also, it's not in English. This is the Caspian Sea. There's Tartary. So you can see this is a pretty good one. So there's Mongolia. There's Turkestan. There's the Gobi Desert. Okay. And it's obviously not in English. If anybody knows what language this might be, go ahead and tell me in the chat. Maybe I'll see it. I guess this would be China. Or, yeah, or Russia. Well, I guess it would depend on the, let's see. Yeah. Oh, it's in Latin. Yeah, that's what I thought. There's Europa. Yeah. Yeah, definitely Latin. So if this is Mongolia, well then yeah, this must be China then, right? Ocean Orientalis. Yeah, it's supposed to be, yeah, it has to be China, but it was like a long time ago. I don't know the year on this one. Okay, well that's interesting. Wait, what's this up here? Tartary. Tartaria. Huh. Well, there you go. Look for the wall. Yeah, I don't think that, yeah, there's some debate to that whole thing with the wall. Some people say it came way later than they say. Okay, here's another one of Tartary. This one's a little bit more crude, not as detailed, obviously. See, back then they called it the Oceanus Tartarius. And then here's America. And this is description of Tartary. So that's interesting. Huh. Okay, here's another one, Grand Tartary. And then you see the names, and they have all these weird names. So that's what I'm saying, if it was just tense, if it wasn't permanent, structures, why would they have names? And it looks like they have roads. I mean, obviously they have to have some kind of roads. I've never really zoomed in on these maps too hard. It's fun to do it here, like on a live kind of thing, like a live kind of deep dive kind of thing. So that's cool. If anybody has any ideas about the names of these towns here, especially in the Grand Tartary area, leave it in the chat. Kamul. I mean, are these still places? Astar, Baghara, Lochman. I don't even know how you would pronounce these exactly. Are any of these places actually still like around? Or is it because of the name? There's Tartar, just Tartar. I know that the Tartarian people are still around, like their bloodlines still exist, and they still do the dances, and they still have the fashion. They're kind of like Mausolée des Anciens Royaumes d'État. Is this French? Is this a French map? Very interesting. Okay, so then we got the rest of the West. Then I got the Arabian Peninsula, Africa, Ethiopia, Congo, Spain, France. Yeah, the maps are all different. I know it has a lot to do with the way that they mapped them out, and the cartographer and all that stuff. I'll hear it all from normies in the comments, but that's not what we're here. We're not here to discuss, the usual explanations for these kinds of things. All right, so let's move on to another map. Hello, Barry. Thanks for being here. So here's a more interesting map. Here's a map more that I would find entertaining, find more accurate in some ways. This is the kind of map that like people don't want to necessarily think about too much. I can't go into like what kind of map this is just in case, because I heard that YouTube doesn't like maps like this and talking about stuff like that. So we're gonna have to choose my words carefully, but you guys get the gist of it. You know, it's a different kind of model than most people are used to. But in this research, and I know some people might not agree with this kind of map, and that's okay. But in this community of research and of our history, we have to look at everything. You know, it's just a cool map. Like, either way you cut it, it's cool. Like, even if this isn't your model, like this isn't what you acquiesce to as far as an Earth model, it's just cool. Like, somebody put a lot of work into creating this, and you got the angels, and you got some stuff here from the Bible, and then you got the guy asking for 25 cents. So that's pretty cool. Send 25 cents to the author, Professor Orlando Ferguson, for a book explaining the square and stationary Earth. It knocks the globe theory clean out. It will teach you how to foretell eclipses. It's worth its weight in gold. Well, that's always good. If something's worth its weight in gold, I mean, it's always a good investment. If you can get something for 25 cents that's worth its weight in gold, because the books are pretty heavy. So that, you know, that sounds like, I don't know, what year was this? This guy was from South Dakota. That's a good state. Let's check this out a little bit more. 400 passages in the Bible that condemn the globe theory or the flying earth. And that's the state. This map is in the Bible of the world. Oh, here we go. 1893. So that's pretty cool. I guess this is the Professor Orlando Ferguson. He looks like a pretty cool guy, I guess. I don't know. I wonder if anybody has a copy of that still. You know, from back then. But 25 cents. 25 cents wasn't chump change back in 1893. So, anyways, maybe we'll go back to that. See what else we got here. Okay, it has some scripture from Exodus. You guys can look all this up. I heard YouTube's kind of weird about scripture. Certain scripture. Plus, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole tonight. Maybe on a different stream. But nonetheless, pretty cool. You guys can obviously pause it, or screenshot it, but or look it up. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Got the ice wall. And it's not for everybody. I get it. Probably gonna get a bunch of comments. But, you know, what are you gonna do? Alright, let's just go on before I go on to a rant about the whole thing. I like the angels at the four corners protecting the whole deal. I mean, that's pretty true. But anyways, alright. Okay, this is pretty similar to the other one that we're looking at. And like I said, there's going to be some redundancies. So that's just the way it goes. That one's pretty low res. I just grabbed a bunch of maps that I had in a folder that was labeled old maps. And some of these aren't so good. There's another detail there. See, that's the thing here. So as long as we have it up here again, and it seems like it's fairly good detail, is it has these tents. I've seen ones where they're like cities, not just tents, but hopefully we'll come across that one. Here's another interesting one. So I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with this one. This is the one with it's cited in a lot of stuff about hollow, the hollow model, and then also in Hyperborea and all that kind of stuff. And there's a story. There's an ancient story about a father and a son leaving Norway. I forget what year. In the 1700s, maybe. And they sail, and they end up coming up on this whole thing here. And there's a really famous painting of Nostradamus, and he's holding a map with this map. So it's at least that old. So if it was, assuming that, all the dates are, we're going off of the mainstream calendar, just to keep things simple. But there is a painting with Nostradamus, and he's holding this, or a rough approximation of this. I think it was in color, obviously, but you guys get the gist of it. So this would be, if you subscribe to the pole model, or the top of the earth kind of concept, then this would be like the north. But this isn't what they tell us is the north. There's this whole thing going on. Yeah, see, pole. I don't think this is the south. I think this is the north. It's too bad it's not a little bit higher resolution, but it's alright. We might go back to that one later. And so here we have, this one's a little bit more mainstream. This one's a little bit more normal, I suppose. But it shows how things changed. And they were so cryptic about the West, about the Americas. Like they pretend like people didn't know where it was and stuff, and it's all like, oh, we don't know what's up here, but they had all this. But it took them so long to get over here. Like who really believes that? Like, how does that make any sense that they were able to hang out around here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, even though they had ships and boats, and then magically they were able to come over here? But then, they'll even tell you that the Vikings came over in like 900 AD, but then Columbus didn't come back over until almost 15. So, that's silly. That's silly. And we know that there was people that were coming up and back and forth from South America to Africa, and we know that there was people going back and forth from Alaska to Siberia. And maybe they didn't do detailed maps and all that stuff, but just the whole idea that people weren't traveling these seas, it's not even that far. It's not that big of a distance, especially if you're island jumping here from Scandinavia to Iceland to Greenland to mainland North America, or you're going right here from, I guess what would be Brazil now, to West Africa. Come on. It's just ridiculous. And that's what's so funny about how this thing's speeding up, because of the internet, and there's all this information, and people are able to discuss things like we are right now at such an alarming rate. The whole thing's gonna crumble pretty soon, and people are just gonna find out way too much information way too fast, and information is not gonna travel as slow as it used to. That was part of the reason why this thing hadn't been figured out earlier. Okay, there's another one. Not even sure what this is, if it's a map or not. Might have just been in the folder. It may have been a map of something at some point. Some of these are really crude. Some of these are really old, and they're from all kinds of different cultures. I think this is as a Islamic map, or at least it was from the Middle East. I mean, some of the stuff is not decipherable, not just because of the resolution of the image, but also just because of the language and just the whole. I think it's supposed to be. Imagine it's supposed to be Africa. I mean, who really knows? I mean, it just has that kind of shape right here, but that's just what's jumping out. But then at the same time, that doesn't even make any sense. But there's some type of chimera up here. If anybody has a guess, you can leave it in the comments in the chat. Really not exactly sure what that is. There's another interesting one. This is like almost like a kind of an alchemical kind of one. Good detail. High resolution. And we got kind of like the inner fire here. And I got some people toiling away here, bringing up the steam. And a ship kind of sinking into this underground. They got a guy trying to get out. And this is a good one. I can't read it, but all kinds of stuff going on in here. Got some fire. The sun. Is that German? Or is that Dutch? Kind of looks like German, huh? Could be old German. Could be like High German or whatever that old. And this is like more like Latin, but I was talking about this part right here. Some dragons, some angels. It's like a firmament kind of thing. Yeah, this is a good one. This is like one that you know, especially if you could read it, you could really get lost in this one. But yeah, just the visuals are really good. No, I don't think Old English. I mean, nah. You have to be pretty old. No. No, son, that's German. Man. Alles ist Eclipse, Jan. My German's not perfect, especially if this is like an older dialect. But I recognize some of these words. That's sun. Der is the. Light's the same. Hot. Has. Yeah, this is German. It's some type of Germanic language. It might not be modern German. Ein Volk ist sehr unterhielt des die Werk Regen. Yeah, this is, yeah, it's some type of Philosophien. It's some type of German. For sure. This part is. And then this is Latin. But yeah, it's giving me kind of like a biblical vibe. Like it's based off of scripture of some sort. The North Sea. It's interesting too because it's round, so you'd have to flip it around to read the other parts, but it's like going around and around. Something about the elements and eclipses. Let's go to the next one. Now here's another interesting one here. Definitely has a very nautical kind of theme to it. So let's see here. The hell is that? That's supposed to be Australia or something? No, there it is. There's Australia. Wait. No, wait a minute. See, I'm all turned around here. I guess it's just because of the way that they mapped it out. Oh, that's the Antarctic Circle. And then this is supposed to be Australia. You guys ever notice how Australia's getting further and further away from Antarctica, and it's getting closer and closer to the Fiji Islands and all that kind of stuff, and Papua New Guinea? And California's over here. Now the scale on some of these things is all out of whack, or maybe it's closer to the truth, huh? Oh, looks like I'm getting some buffering. See if it comes back. If you guys are getting buffering, you might want to try refreshing. Alright, we're back. Little hiccup there. Says I'm good now. Alright, so let's see how long we can keep this going for. It's going to be a funky stream. This stream's going to be like trying to sail across some of these oceans. It's going to be like high winds and a lot of turbulence. Alright. There's Greenland. See, they got Iceland right next to Greenland. There's that island that nobody talks about anymore. That doesn't exist anymore, but it did at one point. Now it just magically doesn't. What's it called? Something with an F. I can't read it quite. Frisland? It's got a few different names. But it totally existed. And now it doesn't magically. But there was like all kinds of accounts and stories, and it was on maps, as you see. And then people say, oh, no, it wasn't real. That was a mistake. It didn't exist. Even though there's all these stories about it, and all these people went there, and there was people that lived there, and then they migrated to mainland Europe. But you're not supposed to talk about that. I think this is another Islamic map. It was like, I don't know if this is Islamic or if this is a biblical map. The detail's a little too low. Oh, thanks, Miss Honeybee. I love you too. Thanks for watching. So here's another really crude one. And, it shows the north. What's interesting about this one, if we zoom in, is we got some type of hunter here with a bow and arrow. And it's like a woman maybe wearing a dress. And yeah, Frisland, that's it. Yeah, Frisland. Maybe we'll find a better example or a better representation of Frisland. But that's the one, yeah. The name escaped me there for a second. So what is this supposed to be up here? What kind of person is this supposed to be? What kind of what's this supposed to represent here? It's like she's hunting like a polar bear or a seal or something. It's really interesting. Yeah, I'm sorry about the static. There's something wrong with my mic. I don't know. I think I need like a new cable. It's really annoying. It comes and goes too. If I hold it down a little bit, it gets better for a little while, and then it just comes back anyway. So it just kind of is what it is. The more I talk, the less you hear the static. All right. Yeah, so that's really interesting because it's like a European kind of design, but then it's like it's really crude. So maybe it's really old, or maybe they just it's really hard to say. All right, so let's go to the next one. All right, so it's this one again. This one's kind of similar to the other ones. The West Ocean, part of America. They're still calling this part the Tartarian Sea. That's supposed to be like Tartarians. The fashion was pretty, it was pretty out there, I guess. It's pretty hip. Like people could wear this stuff nowadays. It'd be pretty cutting edge. China Ocean. It's too bad it's a little quality. East Ocean, part of Africa. Mediterranean, Europa. It's interesting how they call it the Tartarian Sea. I wonder when that changed. And then here in these islands here, it just looks like little like mold spores. Wonder why that is. They changed the names of the continents many times, Miss Honeybee says. Yeah, that's true. It is true, but I wonder when they changed the Tartarian Sea. Probably sometime in the 1800s or something. Oh, here's another one that's it's pretty rough, but it's interesting because you kind of see what they're kind of trying to lay out here. I think this is another one from an old Quran. It's another Islamic map. Some of these maps are really old. Oh, shallow water, that's what the black denotes. So here's a really simple one, as you can see. So this is according to Hecataeus. And about 520 BC, I guess. If I'm right, I mean, I would assume that would be 520 BC. Okay. But yeah, this is yeah, it's very okay. Huh. This one's actually kind of like perplexing in its simplicity. Because everything's surrounded by water. It's just huh. Yeah, I mean, it's so simple, but it's so interesting at the same time. I don't know why. It's like that. This is the extent of his travels, so this is the way that he saw it, or huh. I mean, it's still quite the distance. Huh. Anyways. So here's another one. So what does it say down here? Can't really make it out. There's a close-up of that one there with the Tartary. Here's a pretty intense one. Like the shape of a lion. Someone put a lot of work into this one. Let me zoom in. I think it's decent quality here. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out when this might have been created. See, so that's 17. So that wouldn't be the year. I'd probably be denoting something else. Uh, 1030? No, 1630. According to this, it'd be 1630. I'm just trying to figure out what part of the world this is supposed to be. What country or what... I'm looking at the chat. You know, everybody. I'll talk about this for a second if you guys want. Everybody keeps sending me messages and asking me about this Aeronons, Iwarnons, Irwaranon. I don't know who that guy. I don't know what people. I go, what do you think about his? And I'm like, literally, like, who? Like, and I'm not trying to sound like snotty. I don't know what people are talking about. I don't really like keep up with all that stuff. And then somebody filled me in. They said that he was like some dude that talks about this kind of stuff, or he talks about Tartaria and the old world, and now he doesn't, or he changed his mind or something because he saw some pictures. Is that what you guys are talking about? Like, we can take a break and, you know, people can look at the map or whatever. This is a good one to like pause because this is a live stream. So if anybody wants to tell me in the chat. Okay, so Kenneth says he found a few pictures that claim to be Liverpool Cathedral being built, and now says he was wrong about everything. See, that's a weird logic to say that everything's wrong because one thing may not be the way that he thought it was. So that's it. He found some pictures of Liverpool Cathedral being built. See, because I'm not familiar with the guy's work like entirely. Who's spamming the chat? I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing that I'm getting like spam. I'll just hide the user. I mean, that might be a good thing, right? Because, I mean, that means like, oh, you got enough viewers that I'm going to spam you. Okay, so Hector says Liverpool Cathedral was built in 70 plus years post-industrial revolution. It's probably been secretly automized. John Lenz says, my whole channel is dedicated to Tartarian rare maps I view in person. Huh. Yeah, I'm pretty close to Stanford, so I could technically look at some of these maps in person if I went to the library, the archives. And there's some other places in California that have some of these maps in person. That'd be pretty cool. He says that the mud flood was created by people using shovels to bury the first floor of buildings by hand. That seems pretty silly. Yeah, I mean, people are entitled to change their mind and stuff. I think it's all just a bunch of petty drama, to be honest. I think it's actually a way to keep... It's like I don't know if he did, but I'm assuming he had a lot of subscribers because you guys are talking about him. And so maybe he just wanted to pivot and keep his audience, so he would go a little bit more mainstream, and it keeps certain people in it, but overall you gain traction with YouTube. You're able to like do that. So anyways, honestly don't really care, to be honest. Like it's interesting that a lot of people are flipping all at the same time, but that's the way these things go, Yeah, I don't really have time to watch other people's videos, Andrew. But maybe he has some good information, but I guess apparently now he's going back on it, but that doesn't change the information beforehand, I suppose. So yeah, maybe I will go check out his old videos or something, I don't know. Yeah, it's all contrived. It's like a way to like seem like this thing's not about the truth, like it's about them. Like, oh, so, but yeah. Yeah, Michael De Silvio says, I honestly, yeah, I don't care either. Infighting. Yeah, I'm gonna go on a podcast pretty soon, and I'm gonna talk about the infighting. I don't want to get into it here on my stream, but those kinds of things I reserve for podcasts. I think that's like more like podcast kind of talk. So I'll let you guys know. You'll definitely see the next time I do a podcast, and you can go back and listen to some of the more recent ones I've done, and we started talking about that a few weeks ago because that's kind of when this whole thing started with the infighting. So yeah, let's just go back to the maps here. So what's down here in the tail? Oh, next map. Yeah, good. Yeah, good call, Hector. All right, here's another old one. Now, if I remember correctly, I think this is actually a Japanese of origin. It's supposed to be China. This was supposed to be Japan, or this was supposed to be Japan. But yeah, if I remember correctly, I think this might be a Japanese origin, Chinese origin, some type of Asian origin. It's really old though. I remember that. If anybody has any theories on this one, let me know. And then here's another Islamic one, obviously, but I didn't mean to go do that. I meant to go back. So if anybody has any ideas on this one, because this one's pretty interesting, even though it's really crude and stuff, but there's some stuff that we like. These circles, I don't know if that's like aesthetic or if that's just the way that they interpreted small islands. They didn't bother to shape them out because there's all these little circles, but then obviously we see more here. If there's any like familiar shapes within this, maybe we'll go back to that one. So here's an Islamic one, and obviously I don't read Arabic. but if anybody does in the chat. I don't know if this is just supposed to be Mecca, if it's like a macro, or if these are like rivers. It's interesting. And they did things a little bit different too. They had like kind of a different system of explaining things, but okay, so this one here obviously explains where it's from. It's from 1457. What's interesting here about this one is they got like these columns, or what appears to be some maybe like columns or scrolls. Like I don't know what this is. This looks like scrolls, but then it also kind of looks like common or like columns. So if anybody knows, that's supposed to represent. I got some people. If anybody knows more about this, the detailed old No-Seas world map, 1457. Sorry, I'm just kind of tripping out on this. Just trying to think about what to zoom in on here. All right, so let's see here. So this says Latin, but and recognize Europe. The way that they did maps was really interesting. I assume this would be like the Middle Ages or so. Everything's so like jumbled together, and they have all these different kingdoms and principalities. They have Orthodox, little towns, little kingdoms. And you got the devil holding hands with this guy. This is another one of those ones that you could like really kind of trip out on. And it's like a wall. Ice wall barriers consistent, all of them pretty much so far. Yeah, seems like it. If anybody has any ideas on what, I mean, obviously it's somewhere in Europe. Trying to look for like a familiar city name here. Mound towns. Yeah, they're all mounds. And they got kings. And there's castles. No, I don't think it's a star fort. I think it's just a weird way of just showing like a kind of a, not a localized area, but like a general area. Like this probably represents, you know, hundreds of miles at least. And I don't think that they would actually be this close together. And if these are supposed to be like roads, but then there was like a ship one. Where's the ships? Yeah. Wait a minute. No, those are like ducks. Some type of waterfowl. But then there's like dragons here. Where'd they go? Oh yeah. Here, it's like some dragons or something. Some hydras. That's interesting. Alright, let's go to the next one. Okay, here we have another fancy one. It is like one of those ones that was like educational. Like this is like the epitome of a map. We kind of looked at this one earlier, I think. Yeah, we did, except it was lower quality. Okay, so here's a good little thing here. So we have Jerusalem, but then it looks like an I. The J looks like an I. And I've heard some theories about that whole thing, about like, the dates and everything, that it's not a 1, it's a J. So like 19 or 16 or even 17, so on and so forth, it's not a 1, it's a J. So when you look at a building or something that's dated, that's that whole thing. I'm sure a few people in the chat probably know what I'm talking about. So here we see an example of that, how these I's and J's get mixed up or misinterpreted. I mean, if you look really close, it does kind of look like a J. Like there's a slight little thing, but at the same time, it does look like a capital I. I mean, you see it here too, in Afrikaans, Jerusalem. But the interesting thing with that is that like they look the same, except it's bigger. Because obviously it's like it's supposed to be capitalized here, like the A. But then everything's capitalized, it's just bigger. Yeah, California is separated from mainland. Well, they got the Sierra Nevadas. And that's supposed to be Baja. That's supposed to be Baja, California. And I guess this would be like the yeah, oh no, this would be like San Francisco right here. Sorry, let me zoom back in. So this would have to be kind of like, because the Sierra Nevadas do start down here. But then what would this be up here? That's what I'm saying. These things are all goofy. Like they got all this figured out, but they, I don't buy it. And then you notice too, it's not like a round thing. They didn't start doing that till later. Sorry, I was just keeping up with the chat a little bit. Yeah, it's a wide. Yeah, it's a little bit wider, huh? What's interesting too about this map here is we have like representations of different people. And here for Europa, Julius Caesar. And then once again, the J and the I thing. We see that here too. It's like J's were really not as pronounced, not as differentiated from I's. It's really weird. Augustus, Therbus, Caligula, Claudius, Nero, it's all the Caesars. Asia, Mexico, Americanized steppe. Havana, Americana, Meredith. Vital dos Santos, America. He's riding an armadillo. Why is he riding an armadillo? Wait, were like, why is the armadillo so big? Like that's ridiculous. Does anybody know if armadillos used to be that? I mean, I don't think I ever heard about an armadillo being that big. The hell's going on around here with these armadillos? And then the guy in Africa here he's like riding a crocodile. And then the crocodile's got like way bigger legs. He's like a crocodilius. Short human, but yeah. But even if he was a short human, that would still be a big armadillo. And it doesn't seem to be short. I know it's just a drawing, but sometimes you gotta wonder if there's a little bit of truth in some of these things. You know, like why did they choose to do it like that? You could have just as easily been on something that would have made more sense. These were supposed to be like educational documents. Like, these things would have been really expensive at the time. Yeah, this wasn't like a comic book or anything. And then it just cuts off. What's this there? What year is this, you think? Sorry, it's hard to keep up with the chat and talk at the same time. Because I am generally interested in what you guys are saying. If there's any questions or anything. Native animals of the area. So like they're extinct now, obviously. Yeah, it's a war armadillo. Definitely. Alright, that's the video I'm going to play at the end of the stream. We'll go back to that. Alright, here's another really detailed one here. It's got all kinds of graphic depictions here. Is that Cerberus? Isn't it, Cerberus is the three-headed dog of Hades? Yeah, war, big explosions, heavy artillery going on. And there's all kinds of stuff going on this one. This guy's laid out over the war drum. Cavalry. They got muskets. Nova Terra Nalus. What the hell is this? There's Russia. Okay, so this is supposed to be the North Pole, huh? And we got Tartary. Again with the Tartary. And then Tartaria. So Tartarian desert? The Tartaria desert. Planet Sols. Ocean of Salt. Poland. Hyperborea. So is that like Hyperborea? Huh. This was pretty interesting here. This little detail here. Yeah, the scarcity of the color blue. Yeah, that's something I'm kind of trying to look into that because I heard that too, that the ancient Greeks couldn't see blue, or blue didn't exist back then to them. Iceland, yeah. Yeah, I guess that would be Iceland, huh? Islandia. Groen Island. So it's Greenland. America. So they're calling this part Tartaria and this part America at the same time. Go over like that. I got some more stuff going on over here too. I got like the firmament kind of thing, and then we got the zodiac. I got Saturn. Oh look, it's Saturn eating one of his sons. Chronos. Time. Oh, that's Scotland. Well, to be fair, I mean, according to the ancient Romans, Hyperborea was anything north of the Roman Empire, so it wasn't too far of a stretch. And he says, no, it's Frisland. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay with the chat. Oh yeah. Yeah, now that I look at it again, that does make sense with the Scotland thing. This is Iceland, and Frisland would be like around here somewhere. Maybe let's see. Yeah, there it is. Right? Island of Fuego. What is this Island of Fuego? So this is really interesting here. They don't have Antarctica mapped out at all. It's like nothing. Like they didn't go down there, supposedly. And there was nothing here. Yeah, no, Fuego's fire, yeah. The crazy people who had one big stomping foot. Yeah, it sounds pretty spooky. Wouldn't want to run into one of those guys. Yeah, so there's Norway, there's Finland, there's Sweden, there's Moscow. Okay, that all makes sense. And the giant foot people, is that like the people that had like, they were just all foot? They were just all foot and eyes? I think I've seen them before. Neptune. Some satyrs. Pan chilling. There's all kinds of stuff going on in here. Somebody else was talking about the big armadillos? Huh. Yeah, I noticed that people are there's a lot of synchronicities happening. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, got another pretty interesting one here. Magellan reported seeing giant people in South America. Yeah. Alright, well, what's nice about this one's a little bit more accurate here, is, okay, so this is South America, and then we see Antarctica. What would be Antarctica? And it's basically connected, and then we see Terra del Fuego, land of fire. But we're told that Antarctica, right, is all ice. So why would they call it Terra del Fuego? And then it wraps all the way around, and it's like there's stuff going on. Look at all these animals. There's like some type of ibex. There's a unicorn. Alright, we're getting buffered. Let's see if it comes back or not. Alright, so we're back. I don't know how many people fell off, but it was a bumpy ride. Oh, there we go.